Hi everybody and welcome to The Garage. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. All rugged up. I'm rugged up. God, it's cold. Oh, there's no heating in the garage. Oh, there's an open fire over here, but we haven't started that. But, you know, anyway, rugged up, stay warm. It is, let me think, six weeks of winter left. We're sort of right smack in the middle. But I love winter, normally. This seems to be a particularly cold one. But I love every season. What is there not to love, ladies and gentlemen? Lots of wonderful foggy mornings. You know, up here in the, I suppose you'd call it the foothills, the mist, which is usually a very, very fine rain, really, when you look at it. The mist is hanging about the middle of the pine trees. And it just looks fantastic, which means we're sort of above the clouds. Which sounds funny, but it's not a bad place to be, really. Today is an auspicious day. We'll get to the dates much later on, but this is the day back in 1969. July the 16th, 1969. Apollo 11 was launched, carrying the first men to the moon. Wow. Golly, golly, golly. When we've got, because we're very lucky, we have Professor Ian Plymer around the dining room table every Friday, and if he can't come in, we talk to him on the telephone. I've got to ask him why it is that we need to do that. I'm impressed that we did, but why do we need to go off exploring other planets, and now they're making multi-billion-dollar plans to go to Mars? Do we need to? I really don't know. The All Ordinaries has surged to its highest level ever. That's 8,206. That's a record. And the Dow Jones, talking about the stock market, has gone through 40,000. Now that too is a record. And you know, I looked it up 40 years ago. Do you know what the Dow Jones was? It was a bit over 1,000. That's growth of 9% compound a year. Oh, lots of ups and downs along the way, I suppose, but investing is a long game. You don't panic, and you learn to be patient, and you talk to an expert. Or maybe you don't. Pete, you've got that somewhere in your bag of tricks. Sure. The Celebrity Economist, based in the United States. Take a look.
The U.S. government can't go bankrupt because we can print our own money.
It obviously begs the question, why exactly are we borrowing in a currency that we print ourselves? I'm waiting for someone to stand up and say, why do we borrow our own currency in the first place?
Like you said, they print the dollar, so why does the government even borrow?
Well, again, some of this stuff gets, some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do? They sell bonds. Yeah, they sell bonds, right? Because they sell bonds and people buy the bonds and lend them the money. Yeah. So a lot of times, at least to my ear with MMT, the language and the concepts can be kind of unnecessarily confusing, but there is no question that the government prints money and then it uses that money to I guess I can't really talk. I don't get it. I don't know what they're talking about. Like, because it's like the government clearly prints money. It does it all the time, and it clearly borrows. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this debt and deficit conversation. So I don't think there's anything confusing there.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's 10 years this week, July 17, since Malaysian Airlines Flight MH17 was shot down. July 17, shot down over Ukraine. All 283 passengers, 15 crew were killed. Murdered. Sorry, they were murdered. Many Australians among them. Lots of show trials and things, but I don't know that anybody's gone to jail over that, even though they know exactly who did it. Richard Simmons, the fitness guru, dead at 76. That's not a good advertisement for fitness, by the way. Oh, Pete, I've got a story that I'll have to give you later. Well, it's about sport.
Oh, okay.
If you watch a lot of sport on television, you will live longer.
Good.
Yes, I'll give it to you. It's oh dear, Donald Trump's attempted assassination. We have to talk about that. Everyone is saying that there is no place in America for political violence. America was founded on political violence. It's hard to imagine any future political rally being secure. You'd have to go along with a bulletproof vest or something. Pretty impossible to make these sort of venues safe for the candidate or indeed the audience. You can have security to a degree, but in this case, apparently the shooter could be clearly seen crawling across the roof of an adjacent building not 150 yards from the venue. But it was outside the area that was being controlled, and I gather patrolled. Security should have been tighter, that's a fact. People were yelling and pointing at this guy who had a rifle crawling across the nearby roof. Maybe the Secret Service thought he was one of them, I don't know. But he was taken down not before he had killed a Trump supporter and wounded 2 others, nearly killing Donald Trump himself. He was millimeters away from death. As you know, the bullet nicking his ear and whizzing past into the audience. It seems like it's modern media practice or technique to run and rerun and rerun and rerun the footage over and over again. They must assume that people haven't seen it or want to see it again. The story, after days of seeing the thing, I don't know about you, but I'm tempted to yell, "Enough is enough, I've seen it." It doesn't add anything more to the story. It just looks like they're milking it. It's pretty dramatic, I must admit. I mean, you might say that my talking about this, as it's a few days old, I'm doing kind of the same thing. But I won't go on and on and on about it unless I can add something new, which I'll try to do. The Republican National Convention in Milwaukee yesterday, you couldn't wish to write a better pre-election script, could you? And that photo, Trump bleeding, fist held high in the air, the stars and the stripes above his head. You know, he should just say nothing between now and the election, just maybe even skip the election. He's the president, that's it. The whole Donald Trump campaign has been energized dramatically. Oh, yeah, this is something. Channel 10, which is plugged into CBS, a very, very big network in America, and is owned by the same company, Paramount. They took over an hour to start any kind of coverage or cross to the United States to cover the event, the attempted assassination. Now, I know it's Sunday morning, but what? What? No staff? No journalists? No technicians to push in the patch cord? I don't know. But listen, if you're a serious broadcaster, you have to spend the money. People are expensive, and particularly if you've got to pay weekend loadings, but they have to be there, the staff, if you're a serious contender, because you just don't know what's going to break. Anyway, the American company Paramount has been bought by another company, which I am told has no interest in Australia whatsoever, and will probably sell the network, Network 10. Or if they can't find a buyer, they'll just close it down. And here's a question. I told you about this the other day. Will they pay back to the Australian government, meaning the taxpayer, that $32.9 million they asked for and received the other day to keep going? We'll have to watch that. The media is attractive. And when you've got people who do it well, it looks so easy, but it ain't. It's like running a restaurant. It's not easy. The media is attractive and delightfully seductive. Ask poor old Frank Lowy, who I think sold his Westfield shopping centre empire for $30 billion. So he's no slouch when it comes to making money. But Frank Lowy paid $1 billion for Channel 10 back in the 80s. I think it was when Rupert Murdoch had to sell his television interests to buy the Herald and Weekly Times. It was something like that. So it came on the market, and Frank Lowy said, why not? I'll be a television mogul as well. Perfectly reasonable. A couple of torturous, frustrating, loss-bearing years later, Frank Lowy sold it for $1. $1. But whatever happens, this nonsense has got to stop. You know the saying, go woke, go broke? Have a little look at this. If you've got this handy, Pete, have a little look at this. This is a weather forecast map of Australia, which I got a snapshot of in an afternoon news bulletin the other day. This is why they're going broke. Do you believe it? Nuts. We live in... Pete, you think it's Adelaide, don't you?
No, it's the whole damn country.
No, I mean, we call it Adelaide.
Oh, yeah,
According to Channel 10, it's called Tandanya.
Yeah.
I wonder what the hell they call the whole country. Whoopee-goopee land or something.
Wonderland or something?
Oh, heaven help us. Can anyone tell me why we are now spending hundreds of millions of dollars to increase our influence in the South Pacific? What we're doing to increase our influence is we're packaging up all these old soaps, Neighbours, well, some of them really crappy old soaps, 40 years old, some of them. Why? Well, I think they're worried that the Chinese are going to run in there with their version of the same sort of thing. I don't buy that. I don't get that. But the reason I bring it up was when I saw the story, it reminded me that this government had cancelled Radio Australia. Radio Australia, which had maintained a constant Australian presence and influence, which is what they tell me they want, Australian presence and influence in the South Pacific for generations. It was run by the ABC, but a non-political force for good, useful information, and generally a credit to this country. I believe, I'm happy to stand corrected, but I believe it was the ABC who wanted to close down Radio Australia because they couldn't get their politics into it. And anyway, they wanted the money. Now, if I'm wrong, tell me. Absolutely stupid for the government to close down Radio Australia, a service like that. It's a bit like the very same government closing down the ABCC, you know, the Australian Building Construction Commission, that kept the union, CFMEU in particular, honest. You see, the government in these cases is doing nothing more than serving the interests of others, not the Australian people. And where is the media to ask the hard questions of this incompetent government? Or is every government incompetent? Probably. Quite likely. In this world, one has to be very careful of the things one says, because things can come back and bite you on the bum. Things hang around a long time. Now, Pete gave me this. I want to show it to you. Where did you get it from? This is the bit where Albo, as a younger man...
It's came through on Facebook or something. Or...
Well, in case you haven't seen it, I think it's priceless. It's very good. Just to have a look at this and see how the Prime Minister has changed his mind over the issue of giving the Governor-General a pay rise. Now, make up your own mind. Have a little look at this.
Imagine making 60 grand per month. That's how much Albo's new Governor-General appointee will be making from July 1st, thanks to new legislation he's about to pass. This legislation will boost incoming Governor-General Sam Mostyn's salary from $495,000 to over $700,000 per year. But wait a minute, what's this? In 2003, Albo was outraged over a $50,000 pay rise for the Governor-General of the day.
The Governor-General will receive a $55,000 pay rise, or more than $1,000 a week. There's a big contrast, Mr. Speaker, with average Australians. And average Australians will be concerned about a bill increasing a salary of $55,000 in one hit.
Right. But $214,000 in one hit is fine, so long as it's your bill. Hey, Albo? Albo and Labour have become the party of the wealthy elites and big corporates, like those who funded the Yes campaign. They're showing plainly that they're not on the side of ordinary Australian families and farmers. Oh, but I'm sure he really knows that
People are doing it tough out there.
Now, tomorrow, I want to talk to you in detail about the expose of the CFMEU that has been running in the media. The Age and 60 Minutes, specifically. Great work by a young journalist by the name of Nick McKenzie. I hope to have Nick McKenzie on the program on Friday, jeremycordeaux.com, from around the dining room table, live streaming, because it was a very meticulously done piece of research. Allegations of corruption, extortion, standover tactics, basically organised crime, being given key jobs in construction, and a government that has maybe decided that it should look the other way. Because I don't know what Nick thinks, I don't think he made any comment on it, but it strikes me that if Channel 9 and The Age can, through responsible curiosity and civic duty, find out all of these facts, you can't tell me that the government with much greater resources couldn't have done this if it had wanted to. We live in interesting times, ladies and gentlemen, but I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. Just let me, you know, we have two great sponsors of this program before we get into the dates. And I love them dearly. They're both fine South Australians, well, fine Australians, in fact. And I'm talking about the Rising Sun Inn on Bridge Street at Kensington, one of the finest old pubs. In fact, I can't say, perhaps even, they would never say it because it'd be like blowing their own bugle, but they won the award for being the best pub or inn in South Australia. Lots of character, open fires, fantastic kitchen and menu, and a great venue for small functions, for 2 or for 32 or 52. It's all right, the door closes, it's just the ghost. I'm sure there's a ghost in here. And the other sponsor I want to mention briefly is Elder Fine Art. Jim Elder and Helen are always looking, because they have a major auction 4 times a year, and they have smaller auctions in between. But they're always looking for works of art. And they are very keen on Australian and international works of art of significance. But see, I wouldn't know whether a work of art was significant or not. I think perhaps you're in the same boat. I don't know, unless you're a particular aficionado, and then you would know. But if you have something and you wonder, gee, what could that be worth? And you want it, if you want Jim to have a look at it, he'll give you an absolutely free and obligation-free appraisal, and the idea of selling it might be so tempting, you'll put it in Jim's next exhibition, his next auction. But I'll just give you a number here, which is 8, and if you're watching this interstate, Jim Elder, his fine art auctions are not only viewed, but they have customers all over the world. You're selling to the world when you sell with Jim Elder. Here's the number. Put an 08 in front of it. That's Adelaide. 8267 2869. Elder Fine Art Gallery. Happy birthday if you're having a birthday or a wedding anniversary. I mentioned Apollo 11 took off on this day to the moon, 1969. Can you imagine what that experience must have been like? July 16. Margaret Smith, well, Margaret Court, really, but Margaret Smith Court, Australian tennis player, 1970 Grand Slam, 24 Grand Slam single titles. Born in Albury, Western Australia. Left-handed, but made to play tennis right-handed, so it didn't matter. She was so good. So good. 1942 she was born. Still going strong. Kissing is banned in England in 1439. Good luck with that. Why was it banned? Let me see. Oh, to stop the Black Death from spreading. Oh, well, okay. 1911, Ginger Rogers, American vaudevillian, stage, screen dancer, singer, top hat, Academy Award-winning actress. She was born in Independence, Missouri, died in 1995, but born on this day in 1911. Adam Scott. Adam Scott. I had something here about Adam Scott. Adam Scott. He missed out by that much overnight of winning a really big golfing tournament. Adam Scott, Australian golfer, US Masters 2013, born Adelaide, South Australia in 1980, and he's on the professional circuit now, but he almost won the big prize just in the last 24 hours. Roald Amundsen, Norwegian polar explorer who led the first expedition to the South Pole, born in Norway on this day in 1872. He died in 1928. Natalie Wood, she was 33. Robert Wagner was 40. They got married for the second time on this day in 1972. It was aboard the Ramblin' Rose, moored off Malibu, California. And of course, I don't know if that was the boat that she went missing on. I don't know. There's a story there. Harry Chapin, American folk singer, songwriter, Taxi, Cats in the Cradle, dies in a car crash at 38 on this day in 1981. Will Ferrell, American Emmy and Raspberry, they're the ones you win when you've done something really bad. Award-winning comic. Anchorman, Elf, Step Brothers, born in California in 1967. Model Anna Nicole Smith. She was 26. She got married to a multimillionaire by the name of J. Howard Marshall on this day in 1994. She was 26. He was 89.
Money, I think.
Oh, well, I think they probably each had something that the other one wanted. I guess that's all right. Barbara Stanwyck, American actress, Dynasty, Big Valley, Thornbirds, born Brooklyn, died in 1990, but born this day in 1907. Captain John Gilbert patents the first dredger in Britain. Oh, 1618. John F. Kennedy Jr. and his wife Carolyn Bissett Kennedy and sister-in-law Lauren Bissett killed in a light plane crash off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. The Piper Saratoga aircraft was piloted by John Jr. This day in 1999. First banknotes in Europe were issued by the Bank of Stockholm in 1661. Oh, I'll just give you one more. Jane Birkin. Now, I love Jane Birkin because she had a song which was, banned. I can't imagine a song being so seductive that it gets banned, but they did ban Je t'aime. Je t'aime. I thought it was a lovely, lovely song, and I still do. In fact, I might play that on Friday. But she was an actress as well. She was in Dust and Death on the Nile, and a fashion icon. She dies at 76 on this day in 2023. Famous for advising on the world's most expensive handbag, which was the Birkin by Hermes. Forgive me if I'm not saying that properly, but apparently she was on a plane, first class traveling, of course, and she got talking to this man beside her, and she was complaining to him about her handbag. She could never get a handbag that was adequate, big enough, or stylish enough, or whatever. And this man was the multi-billionaire who owned Hermes. And apart from making scarves, he made handbags. And he went away and came up with the Birkin. There was another thing called a firkin, as I remember. But that's a completely different story, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. Peter Clayton and I will be back tomorrow. And of course, round the dining room table on Friday. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Believe in yourself, and thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion.